have waited long enough. This is Do It Already, the podcast that gets you out of your head and into your power. We talk mindset, neuroscience, and the no BS truth about what it really takes to change your life starting now. If you're a U.S. listener, and I do have international listeners, I do, which is so surreal. But if you're a U.S. listener, I think we all know what this week is. It's Thanksgiving. And I'm not going to do a full episode this week. I'm doing something a little different because I feel like we still need something this week given, family dynamics. I don't know. But I have taken all of the questions that have been submitted to me, stuff that people have sent me in DMs, emails, text messages, and I've compiled them into this little mini Q&A episode. And before I do that, while we're on the topic of Thanksgiving, I think we all know that this holiday is about gratitude and being thankful. And I want to say thank you to everyone that has listened to this podcast, that follows it, that shared it, that has sent me messages, that have texted me if you're a friend and listened to it and you're asking more questions. When I started this, I knew the direction I wanted to take it. I knew what I wanted to do because what I'm telling you has changed my life. And I will get into my story one day. Not right now, but one day. And I do have a story, believe me. But when I started it, I had no idea what I was doing. I had no idea. It was essentially like me filming how to go whitewater rafting while not knowing how to whitewater raft live and teaching the audience just kind of on the fly, right? And not having a PR team, not having a producer or director, just doing it and winging it. When I started this, I had no idea how to record or edit a podcast episode. I just did it. And so the fact that people are listening while I'm still learning means more to me than you'll ever know because it's hard and it's a lot of work. And I'm not complaining about that because I truly and genuinely love what I'm talking about. And I love connecting with each and every one of you who does listen. And when you guys sit here and tell me, hey, your content is resonating differently and it's making sense, you have no idea how much that means to me. So thank you. Thank you. So keep the questions coming. And if you liked this episode, let me know because I will do more of them. But hopping into these questions, and for these questions, obviously I'm going to be answering them through the lens of neuroscience, psychology, and real human behavior. But I will be giving you a fix for every single one of them. And if you will notice, there is a theme to every single one of them, my favorite topic. So just pay attention. And here we go. First question. Why do I know what I should do, but I still don't? Again, you know what you should do. You know what you should do. You know what you should do. You know what you want to do. And the question here, really, this was through the lens of why do I know that I should leave? Or why do I know that I should start this? Or why do I know that I should do this, but I can't or I don't? It's because there is a gap between your awareness and action. And the reason you don't move is not because of laziness or a lack of knowing. It's just your body protecting you. Because what you should do doesn't just require effort. It requires change, whether that be changing your identity, changing the situation, losing something familiar, maybe some emotional discomfort or uncertainty. And your logical brain, that prefrontal cortex, our favorite part of our brain, that is responsible for long-term planning, intuition, higher thinking, goal setting, says, go, friend, go. But your nervous system says, nope. This is unsafe. Please stay in the familiar, even if the familiar sucks. So this is what blocks action to keep you regulated, essentially. Your nervous system is blocking action to keep you regulated, quote unquote, but really dysregulated. And in scientific terms, this is actually limbic friction, LIMBIC friction. And it's your survival system. So your nervous system specifically in this case, your limbic system overriding logic or your higher thinking. So the fix here is you don't need more motivation. You have it. You know what you have to do. You know what you want to do. You just need less internal resistance because you have to lower the threat. Therefore, action can become natural. So before you do whatever you want to do or need to do, try one of these things or do them all. I don't care. Breathing. I will talk about this all the time because it works, but breath work. And in this instance, your exhale needs to be longer than your inhale. And what I do personally is 4 breaths in, I hold my breath for 7 seconds, and then I exhale for 8 seconds, like I'm breathing out of a straw. And what this does is it tells your body that you're safe, you're not in danger, et cetera, and so forth. And do this 5 to 10 times or even more if you need it. But if you can breathe and essentially calm your body down, it will start to learn that you're not actually in danger. The next thing you can do is micro start the action. And I talked about micro habits in my last episode. Why do they work? Because they're tiny actions that build data in your brain as someone who does XYZ, someone who does ABC. So in this instance, that could be drafting the text message, planning out the conversation that you're going to have, planning for where you're going to go or do or whatever it may be. If it's working out, putting on your shoes, micro start the action. Okay, micro start it. And then the last thing that you can do is name your emotion. Because whenever we name what we're feeling, they start to lose their grip. Because we're telling our brain that tells our body, hey, we're not actually in danger. This is just what we're feeling. So, for example, it might be, well, I feel overwhelmed, or I feel scared, or I feel this. Whenever you name it, it lowers the defenses, essentially. Because again, you're not failing. You know what to do. You know what you want to do. You know what you should do. Your body's just trying to protect you with outdated data. And when something finally feels safe, movement will follow. Question number 2 is, how do I stop overthinking every decision? For my overthinkers, for my chronic analyzers, you guys are not smart. I love you so much. I love you so much, but you're not smart. Okay? This is not intelligence. This is just hypervigilance. Because whenever your body is stressed, cortisol rises and your amygdala, that little almond shaped thing in your brain's threat detector takes control. And when that happens, our smart part of our brain, our prefrontal cortex, the part that's responsible for logic and clarity and long term planning and higher thinking, shuts down. It shuts down. So you're not overthinking because you're trying to analyze every outcome, or you're not overthinking because you're bad at decision making. You're overthinking because you're trying to make a decision from a dysregulated body. And you cannot create calm choices from a nervous system that's in threat mode. So the fix for this is regulate first, think second. Try this sequence. Again, the long exhaled breathing. I just explained it. 4 in, pause for 7, breathe out for 8. Do that several times to get back into your body. And then you can also anchor into the present. And you can do a 5 sequence, whether that be 5 things that you can see, 5 things that you can touch, 5 things that you can hear or smell. Because whenever you anchor into the present, you essentially you stop that overthinking loop. And what that looks like is, if I were going to anchor into the present right now, I would say, okay, I see this coffee cup. There's my cell phone. There's my AirPod case. This is a purple pen. This is a candle. Naming 5 things that you can see, smell, touch, or hear. This is a sensory input that brings you back to the actual present. And then the last thing you can do is give yourself a decision window. Say, I have 24 hours to decide. I have 48 hours to decide. That way you give yourself that space to get regulated so clarity can return. Because whenever your body finally feels safe, your prefrontal cortex comes back online. All right, question number 3. Why do I lose momentum after a few days, even when I'm excited at first? This is so common for anyone who has ever set a goal or intention. You always lose momentum after a couple of days. You always do. Why? Because excitement about whatever this new thing that you're going to do or try to achieve is dopamine. It's dopamine. And dopamine always dips. It always dips because this new intention or goal is essentially a novelty. And novelties create spikes. And then your brain recalibrates. And that dip feels like, I'm just not motivated anymore. I always quit. Maybe, I'll just do it later. You're not failing. You're not unmotivated. You're just exiting the novelty phase. And if you think about this from a holiday standpoint, okay, let's say you asked for a very specific gift that you wanted that you didn't buy yourself at the holidays and you get it. You're so pumped at first. You're so pumped. And you're like, this is the best thing ever. This is going to change my life. It's so awesome. And then after a few days, it just becomes another thing in your house. You might still use it, but it's not as exciting as it once was because it's not a novelty anymore. It's not new anymore. It's just normal. And when this dopamine dip happens in your brain, most people stop. They lose their motivation. But if they didn't, they would realize that is actually where real habit formation begins. And so, what you need to do for this is expect the dip, normalize it, and continue anyway. Continue anyway. Okay, and here's how you do this you have to plan for the dip that will absolutely happen between days 3 and 10, and then lower the bar on those days. So, let's say your new intention or goal is to work out every day or 5 days a week. On those first couple of days, you're at the gym before the damn doors open, right? You're there and you're there for however long. On the dip days, you are still there, but maybe you're there for half the time, or maybe you're there for a quarter of the time. Plan for it and go anyway, or continue anyway. If you're meal prepping, that first time that you meal prep, you have meal prep breakfast, lunch, and dinner, haven't you? But on the dip days, maybe just meal prep breakfast. Meal prep breakfast. And then continue anyway. And then the last thing you can do is replace motivation with identity based language. So instead of, I'm going to work out every day or I want to work out every day, it is, I am the kind of person who works out every day. I'm the kind of person who meal preps. I'm the kind of person who does X, Y, and Z. Because when you anchor it with identity based language, that is where your brain learns to rewire itself based around that identity. Because remember, the dip here is not the end. That is not your cue to stop. It is the bridge to habit formation. Next question. I don't know these question numbers, so we're just going to roll. Okay. Why am I so attached to outcomes? Because your brain hates uncertainty. Everybody's brain hates uncertainty. And whenever it can't predict what's coming next, it tries to regain control by checking, refreshing, analyzing, overlooping, overthinking. And that's not obsession. That's your nervous system trying to stabilize itself. And essentially, outcome attachment is regulation for your body in disguise. So we fix this by building uncertainty tolerances. And I'm going to get a little granular here because I think we've all been here and I think this is going to click. Think about when you're in a relationship with somebody and somebody starts acting a little different. Maybe they're not responding as quickly. Maybe they're being a little shorter or just feeling off, right? Oftentimes we will go through and we will check every single text message and try to overanalyze and overthink and over whatever. Check their socials, especially if they haven't responded to our text message. Create a no checking window. Create a no checking window, whether that be 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, whatever. Create that no checking window where you're like, no, I'm not going to check this. No, I'm not going to overanalyze this. No, I'm not going to look at this. So you can start to build that uncertainty tolerance. The next thing you can do, again, you can ground into the present to replace those overthinking loops. That 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 sensory reset will stop the overthinking because you're now anchored in the present. And then again, you can also name what you're feeling or what you actually really need in this instance. So for example, maybe it's, I just need reassurance. I feel scared. I feel whatever. Whenever you name your emotions, again, they start to lose their teeth. Because whenever you can sit in not knowing, You stop needing to force outcomes. And I will tell you this with absolute conviction and certainty, and you can take this check to the bank and cash it every single day. If you're somebody who's like, please, I'm begging you, don't do this, please don't leave, don't whatever. If you have to force anything, it may work temporarily, but it's not going to work long term. It's not going to work long term. You don't have to force things that come naturally. It is like trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. You may fit it through, but that thing is going to be so broken. You should not have to force anything. All right, I think this is the last question. How do I rebuild belief in myself after years of doubt or quitting? I covered this in my last episode, the micro habits and self trust. But belief is not a mindset issue, it's a memory issue because our hippocampus stores patterns. And if you have been inconsistent in the past, essentially, if you've been somebody who says, I will start X date, and you don't start X date consistently, your brain essentially predicts more of the same. Not because you're broken, lazy, unmotivated, whatever, but because it's using past data to protect you. And belief is not built through intensity. It's not. It's built through evidence, those micro habits that I spoke about. And your fix here is repetition over motivation. You only need 3 things to do this. You have to choose a tiny behavior. So if you're trying to build self-belief, let's say you're trying to build a belief like I am somebody who shows up for themselves, or I am somebody who follows through. Follows through. That's a good one. Maybe you can start with I'm going to drink water every single morning. I'm going to follow through on that, right? This is a very small task that you can do easily every single day. Put it by your bedside before you go to bed. And then you have to do it daily. You have to do it daily so the brain will start to record consistency. That is how identity is rewritten. That's how it's rewritten. Not through perfection, not through intensity, not through these huge grand gestures, but through proof. And whenever your brain actually starts to see stable evidence, belief will become automatic again. So, thank you guys so much for joining me this week. I know, again, this episode was different, but I hope you enjoyed it. Next week, I will be back with a full episode. And again, your life will start to change when you finally understand the science behind your patterns and you stop taking them so personally because you can start to take your power back. And your life will also change when your nervous system finally believes you're safe to change. Remember, we're here to build the life that we want and deserve because we only have one of them. So go do it already. Okay, if you love this episode, follow Do It Already wherever you listen, drop a quick review and a rating, and share it with somebody who's been stuck in their own head for way too long. And if you want more mindset resets, behind the scenes, or just a quick kick in the ass when you need it, come hang with me on TikTok and Instagram at Do It Already Podcast.